And that is a culture, that is a choice. So don't invest extra hard as a reaction to whatever you are seeing happening on Capitol Hill. Invest in a proactive fashion in case your politicians abandon you. Invest in a proactive fashion in case that corporation abandons you. Invest in a proactive fashion in case nobody comes to save you. You're all that you need. That's the message. Moving on. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some stats on buying the dip and why buying the dip is historically and statistically the best way to deal with stock market declines. When the market goes to a bear market, which I think is a 20% decline, I think that's the technical depth. It's either is it 10% or 20? I want to say it's 20%. That's a technical bear market. When that happens, it usually takes about, is it 20%? Thank you. It takes about 14 months typically for the market to recover, but that's an average. Sometimes it recovers very quickly. During the pandemic, I was stunned by how fast the market recovered. And I think it was because of all that stimulus. They pumped all that money in the economy, and I'd never seen that. The economy was on dope. And now you're sobering up from the pandemic stimulus, and it's going to be a little painful, but long term there will be opportunities there. All right, so here's some stats. First of all, let's see. Here's one. It says, let's see here. After the 10 worst one-day drops of the S&P 500, the index posted double-digit positive returns 1 year later in all but one instance and remained positive for 3 to 5 year horizons. So when you have those massive crashes, everybody pays attention to the crash, but nobody pays attention to the recovery. Nobody understands how much money gets made from those who buy the dip and just hold their assets, and then the market recovers, and then they make a ton of money. Number two, the long-term average annual return on the S&P 500, including dividends, is about 10% per year, illustrating that staying invested during the dips rewards a lot of patience. So if you have a stock that you love and or a company that you really believe in, and a thesis that tells you this is a great business, then the dips are doing you a favor. When you have great companies like a Costco or a Chipotle or a Walmart or a Coca-Cola, these dips are actually great opportunities to buy good quality companies at a good price, right? So ultimately, the dip is a blessing. Your thesis should not be something that changes once a week. You shouldn't change, just like if you pick a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you shouldn't switch girlfriends every week. You should eventually pick one that you want to stick around with for a while, right? Moving on. Corrections and drawdowns are common. In one study, the S&P 500 had drawdowns of 10% or more in a majority of years, showing that dips are pretty much a normal part of the investment journey. So what that means is that what you're seeing right now is kind of par for the course. Happens a lot. This is part of it, and so this is why we created the first ever Black Financial Therapy department in the Black Business School, because I said to my wife, I said, we need therapy. We need financial therapy. We need to know how to deal with all of this trauma that we have, this undiagnosed, untreated trauma, so that when you see your stocks drop, you don't have a catastrophic response. That's one thing traumatized people like me. That's what we tend to do. And I had to work through that. I had to really process that. It's like sometimes you get so upset about what's happening in the moment that you just say, "Oh, it's over. I can't do this anymore." And so you'll leave a relationship, you'll cut off a business deal, you'll quit your job out of the heat of anger, or maybe you'll sell your portfolio because you're so scared of losing money. And so these trauma responses have no place in investing. You want to find a way to kind of woo-saw your way through the nonsense, and whatever your coping mechanism is, that's what it's going to be.